My name is Hannah Whittaker. I never asked to look like him, but I do. Every time I glance in the mirror, I see the ghost of my father, his sharply set jaw, the downward curve at the corners of his mouth, and those dark, defiant eyes that never begged for forgiveness. I was 8 the last time I saw him. He kissed my forehead and promised to write. He never did. My mother never forgave him, and she never forgave me for being very similar to him. She remarried when I was 11. Gerald Whittaker. Mild, beer-bellied, the kind of man who used silence as power. With him came Evan, his smug son from a previous marriage, who at 15 already treated me like I was beneath him. And Mom, she softened around him, as if he were the child she'd always wanted. At dinner, she laughed at his jokes. She ironed his shirts. She never once asked me how school was. I remember hiding an award certificate in the trash so she wouldn't say, "Don't brag, Hannah." Years passed. I moved out, earned a degree in finance, climbed higher than anyone expected, especially her. My success never seemed to matter. But still, I called every Sunday, sent gifts, and when they retired, I offered to help. "Don't worry about money," I said on the phone. "I'll send something monthly, just until you settle." "Only if you're sure," she said. I was sure. Every month, $3,700 left my account. Quietly, dutifully. Until 2 weeks ago when I pulled up to their house for a surprise visit and heard Evan, my stepbrother, the one who played at being everyone's hero, talking to a neighbor on the porch. "I pay for everything," he said. "They'd fall apart without me. I cover the bills, taxes, car maintenance. You know, real son stuff." My mouth went dry. Real son. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I rang the doorbell and pasted on a smile. Mom answered, blinking like she hadn't expected me. "Oh, Hannah, you didn't say you were coming." "I wanted to surprise you." She hesitated, then stepped aside. We weren't really expecting guests. Inside, the walls were just as I remembered. Overcrowded with framed photos. Family trips I wasn't invited to. Christmases I spent alone. And then there it was, the portrait from my 30th birthday, hanging near the hallway lamp. I stepped closer, my stomach churning. There was something scrawled across the glass in thick, black ink. Bloodsucker. My breath hitched. I knew that handwriting. I'd seen it on birthday cards she wrote for Evan. On recipe notes she slipped into Gerald's lunchbox. My mother's handwriting. I didn't say a word. I turned back toward the kitchen where they were all laughing over tea. I joined them, pretending nothing had happened. But something inside me was already shifting, quietly, dangerously. And for the first time in years, I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for the truth. I wasn't surprised when Mom didn't call after I left. I knew better than to expect concern from a woman who could scribble bloodsucker across her own daughter's face. The next morning, I pulled up every bank transaction from the last 3 years. $3,700 every month, never late. I printed each receipt and circled the notes I'd added. For Mom's meds, for Gerald's car repair. Then I called the family accountant. "Mr. Lawson, Hannah Whittaker, who's been filing my mom and Gerald's taxes?" A pause. Evan Whittaker. I gripped the phone, and he claimed he was financially supporting them. "Yes, that's what's on file." That evening, I called Mom. "Hannah?" "I'll be at the reunion Saturday," I said. "It's time for clarity." She hesitated. "What do you mean by that?" "You'll see." At the reunion, Evan waved at me across the lawn. "Hannah, glad you made it?" "I'm sure you are." Dinner was strained. Conversations passed around me like I was invisible. But I waited. And when dessert came, I stood. "I'd like to say something. For the past 3 years, I've sent $3,700 monthly to Mom and Gerald." I began, placing the folder on the table. "I've covered their insurance, utilities, groceries." Gasps rippled. Mom's lips parted in silence. "I know some of you believed otherwise," I said, looking at Evan. "That someone else was the generous provider." He stood. "Hannah, don't do this." "I already did." I turned to Mom. "You called me a bloodsucker, but I've been the only one keeping your lights on." I stepped back from the table. Evan's been taking credit for my support, while running 2 fraudulent real estate LLCs, both under IRS investigation. I have the case numbers if anyone's curious. Aunt Marlene dropped her fork. Lord have mercy. Stop it. Mom snapped. You don't air family matters like this. I looked at her, no longer pleading, just done. You wrote Bloodsucker on my photo, I said softly. Turns out, the only one draining anyone here is your golden boy. Get out, she hissed. I smiled, calm, with pleasure. 3 days later, the storm broke. A voicemail from Gerald. IRS agents came this morning. Evan's been arrested. By noon, news broke online. Local investor Evan Whitaker under federal investigation for fraud, tax evasion. Then came Mom's call. You ruined us. No, I said. You ruined yourself by building a shrine around a lie. He's still my son. And I was your daughter, I said. You just never saw me. Later that evening, I received an email from a lawyer. My contributions had been fraudulently filed under Evan's name on joint tax returns. Gerald's accounts were frozen. The entire house of cards was collapsing. That night, standing by my window, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. The truth had scorched through the rot. And they, my mother, Gerald, and Evan, were finally feeling the heat. I returned to the house one last time, not for them, but for myself. The portrait still hung in the hallway, glass cracked, the word Bloodsucker faint beneath a sloppy attempt to wipe it clean. Mom sat slouched on the sofa, eyes hollow, papers in her lap, court summons, IRS letters, a foreclosure notice. Gerald was gone. Evan was awaiting trial. You're happy now, aren't you? She rasped. No, I said softly. Just finally free. I placed a small envelope on the table. Inside, my last check. 1 month's support, closure, not charity. I loved you once, she murmured, when you were little. Before you looked so much like him. That sentence didn't ache like it used to. I know, I whispered, but I don't live in that shadow anymore. I left without looking back. Outside, the cold air kissed my skin. In my car, I opened my phone to a photo of my dearest friend, my dog buddy, who will always love me no matter what.